Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, I have a lot going on right now, and I've kind of made some difficult decisions on some things, and kind of we're going to be kind of going a different direction with one of these projects here. So we'll dive right into it. As you guys can see, I have some tenders disassembled. As I stated before, this Rio Grande Challenger, I am third owner on it. The original owner bought this as a DC locomotive, no sound. Still Atherogenesis, just no DCC or sound. And then did their own DCC and sound. So that's what this mess is here. Removed the original panel that was in here, the DC panel. Kept the plug plate, and then wired everything. This is one of the older models, so it's kind of got the bigger speaker boxes. For some reason, cut them apart and double-sided sticky taped them to the top of the tender. Not sure why, because this stuff really isn't much taller than what's on a normal tender, but whatever. So I couldn't really do anything with this because I do not have DCC, so I need stuff that is compatible for DC and DCC. And I don't really enjoy other people's home cobbling. Sure, it's fine, sure it works, just not happy with that whole situation. So decided to do some upgrading, and that kind of led me to changing quite a bit, because you guys know at first I was just going to do a basically a coal burning version of 3985 and have that kind of be a museum version. Now, yes, of course, I've talked about kind of my timelines being a little different just because I have a lot of fantasy going on. And something I kind of had to really do some thinking on is with me kind of being in the era of resurrecting 4014, and kind of having some other fantasy big boys follow suit. My time frame itself is too far ahead to have 3985 as a coal burner. Yes, I can manipulate the timeline and manipulate stories how I want to make that work, but I feel like my overall timeline is just a little too advanced for that. As much as I want to do a coal burning 3985, it just really does not fit in my timeline. I would have to push things way back and basically start my stories off super earlier than what I want to, for like the equipment that I have. So I really did some thinking, and I kind of came to the conclusion that I think we're going to leave this a Rio Grande Challenger. Now, that being said, I am going to do some upgrades to it because this is early. Even if this wasn't a homemade job, I would have been replacing all that regardless. And I'll show you guys the box here. You guys can see it's one of the earlier releases with the black and white picture of the locomotive. It's got the older item number. So it's an older locomotive in general that needs some upgrades to bring it up to the rest of my stuff here. So that prompted me to start to get a tender frame ready for it. Now, with all of the locomotives that I have bought and parted out, that gives me a lot of spare parts, and the ability to kind of do stuff like this. So I'm dug through my parts, found a couple DCC tender panels. That's what one of this is right here. But I ended up using a little bit newer one. This one's from 2017. I had a 2018 in my stock, so decided to use a little bit newer one. You guys can see I'm just kind of getting things together here. I got the contacts back onto the frame, the weight on top. I soldered the wires onto these. If you guys ever wonder what these look like, they're basically just a sandwiched together little contact plate that has the little fingers that rub up against the tender wheels, and then the wires go through this hole in the weight. I opted just to unsolder the wires and then put the weight on and then resolder the wires, because these you can fish them through this hole. It's not very fun though. You have to really manipulate these little fingers here, and it really bends them up quite a bit. So I was actually missing a wire on this panel, or I had cut it for some reason, so I had my soldering iron out anyway, so we resoldered those, reattached my missing wire on this. And in doing that, I made sure I had an updated frame. This is a newer frame. You guys can see the older frames were kind of in a gloss black, and then there was a different panel for the rear light. These ones have a nice LED on its own little plate that screws in right there. These old ones do not have that, so I decided I'm just doing full upgrades on everything, so it's got a newer frame. I've got a couple of these in my part stock, so like I said before, yes, it is a little crazy to spend so much money on these just to part them out, but in this case, it really helps me out because I have the parts available to completely upgrade this electrically and mechanically, so that's kind of nice that I have that ability. This tender right here is actually the current tender for my my running 3985 with DCC and sound, so I just took that apart so that way I made sure I had everything that I needed for this. I had to go through my parts, find the weights. We have a nice new set of speakers right there, of just making sure I had the panel right, making sure I had the wires right. So that's why that is apart right now. I got the rest of the pieces chilling over there off to the side so that way they don't get all mixed up. But yeah, I think I'm going to decide to, not that I think, I am deciding to keep it a Rio Grande Challenger. I feel like that's going to add a little bit to the mix. Now, of course, Rio Grande in my time frame is long gone. It has become part of Union Pacific. So this will basically be like a heritage fallen flag steam locomotive. And something I kind of really wanted to do is I have the Union Pacific SD70 ACE. I have all of the heritage units, the Katy, the Mopac, of course the Rio Grande, C&W, and whatever else there was. I have all of those, and I think it would be really cool to run the Rio Grande unit behind this Rio Grande Challenger. I feel like that would look really sharp and be really cool. So, so yeah, I'm kind of changing gears here. We're not going to do a museum version of 3985 solely because, like I said, it just pushes my time back too far, and I have a lot of catching up to do, and it just, like I said, yes, I could make it work, but it's a lot of struggle for my brain to kind of connect all those dots, so it's actually easier for me to kind of have, let's say one of the Rio Grande 3800 series were saved, which there wasn't many of these. You guys actually if you've been on the channel long enough, you saw back in the spring, early spring, I was working on a 2-rail O-scale one of these. I have 3800 and 2-rail O-scale. That's an ongoing project. You guys will see that come back around eventually. But you know, here we have 3804, so now I'm basically just going to come up with a story that one of these was saved, brought back to life. This will be a fully functional running sound DCC locomotive. Something that I might change now, though, is with me kind of making it a modern day runner, I don't know if I want to keep it a coal burner now. I do have one more oil burning insert here, as you guys can see, for the tenders. So I do have the ability to turn it into an oil burner. As far as the locomotive goes, I would have to drop the ash pans and then kind of change some of my steam piping here, and I have those parts set aside. I think right here, anything that I would need is right here, because this is all of the stuff that I gathered back up for the 3985 project. But now that we're not doing that, I can still use some of these parts to upgrade this to a modern day oil burner, which I think would be kind of unique. I don't think the 3800 series for Rio Grande ever were upgraded for oil burning. I think those all stayed coal burning. So it'd be kind of a neat thing to kind of adapt and have like a you know, a modern day Rio Grande locomotive. You know, of course we're gonna have it be, you know, storyline wise, we're gonna have it be under Union Pacific's ownership. I might even see what I have for decals, and on the cabs here you guys can see the little DNRGW, the Denver and Rio Grande. Union Pacific kind of has the same thing, where they have the little tiny UP right at the back of the cab. So I might see if I have small enough decals and just decal a tiny little UP underneath that. But other than that, leave you know, leave the Rio Grande name on the side of the tender. Leave it on the back of the tender, and just basically have it be a Fallen Flags heritage steam locomotive, which I think would be pretty fun. So I think we're gonna go that route. Like I said, I do have to decide if I want it to be a coal burner or an oil burner. I'm kind of leaning more towards oil burning, just for the modern day aspect of it. It's really not that hard to change that stuff out. And then honestly, if I did want to do a 3985 coal burning version at some point, I can still do that. I still have the parts to do that. I had the parts to do that without this locomotive. I was just going to use this locomotive for the shiny bits, but now that I'm not worried about that, we'll probably leave the shinier parts on there, because this locomotive is going to be painted up just a little bit different. Something that we will be doing on this is painting the tires. Kind of looked around on the internet for photos of the 3800 series, and I found one photo of 3800 itself, and it had all the tires painted, like everything basically how it is on 4018, the museum version. Even the tires are painted white on the tender, which you really can't see, but I showed that in a couple videos ago. So definitely some tire painting. I don't think I'm going to paint the rods though, because we're gonna, you know, basically have it be in-service version. And as I showed before, all of my in-service rods kind of have that the more or just the bare metal look, not the painted silver look. So still some things that I kind of have to think about, but as far as like just keeping this up, upgrading it, that's what the plan is now. So you guys will be able to see the whole transformation of that. I hope he didn't change anything in here. I still have to take this locomotive apart. We're gonna upgrade to a newer motor. I'm going to be switching out the drivers themselves. I'm going to keep the rods. The rods are in good shape. I am switching out the drivers for the drivers that are actually on that one right there. So there's a ton of parts swapping going on right now. I kind of went through some of my other drivers that I had in stock just to see what I have. So there's a lot going on right now. A lot of parts out and about. So definitely working hard to make sure I don't confuse anything or mix anything up. Now that I have this tender figured out, I'm going to put 3985's tender back together so that way I don't lose or mix up any of those parts. Like I said, basically I just needed to see what this looked like so I could make sure everything in here is correct. And then this will just kind of be spare for something, maybe if I need the frame. I'm definitely not going to use any of this. So that is basically not junk. I don't like to call things junk. I am a hoarder, so at least with this stuff I hoard it. So that's not junk. It's just probably never going to be used again, but we'll keep it. So yeah, we'll get that 3985's tender put back together, and then keep going with this project. Probably get this tender put all together. Couple things that I need to work on this for cleaning up. There's a couple little spots here and there. Like I said, I am third owner on this, so it's a little beat up. Not too bad though. Definitely worth cleaning and fixing up. And then we'll do some nice detailing on it, do some nice paint work to it. I'm most likely going to do the oil conversion on it. If I do that, I will have to switch that to dual dynamo. And I do have another component or a part to swap out for that. So basically do the modern day upgrading to it and just kind of have it be a unique piece. So it'll be cool. I'm pretty excited about that. Like I said, I kind of had to think about it for a little while. I was like, do I want to do that? Do I not want to do that? But you know, since the Rio Grande was such a big part of building Union Pacific and becoming Union Pacific, really one of the bigger fallen flags to really like what built Union Pacific up. So I think it'd be cool to kind of honor that with a Fallen Flags Heritage steam locomotive. We see Fallen Flags Heritage diesels, but a steam locomotive like that is not very practical price-wise nowadays. In the real life world, but I have the ability to do that here, so that's what we're gonna do. Still gonna bring you guys along on the journey. Like I said, just getting into it with some of the tender work right now, making sure I can have everything in a row ready to go there. Like I said, wheels, I'm gonna have to kind of pick through wheels, see what the best sets I have are. This locomotive does have quite a bit of runtime on it. Wheels are still in good shape, but I would rather have brand new unrun wheels on it. Basically doing the model equivalent of a 1472 on this locomotive, completely rebuilding it from the ground up, refreshening everything. So that's where we're at, and that's what you guys are going to see coming up here. So like I said, still some unknowns. I need to open this up, and I really hope not too much is changing in there. I do have, I think this is the right panel to go in there. I do have a couple of the truck contacts here that I need to kind of sort out and everything, but we'll figure all that out. I might even need to tear apart this 3985, not tear it apart, but take it apart and just kind of do some visual checks on making sure I have this one correct. But other than that, it should be it's going to be a fairly forward project. Just not looking forward to painting the tires, but they do look fantastic painted. I'm just glad UP didn't do that with the running version of 4014. That saves me a lot of time on the rest of these locomotives. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. Hopefully you guys are excited to kind of see this Rio Grande Challenger come back to life, and we'll have some fun with it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and until next time, take care.